What's up, sociology? This week you guys are going to be looking at collective behavior and social movements, which seems like a relevant topic today. Collective behavior is different than just a social group, which is something we looked at in chapter 4. Collectives are defined by groups of people who have limited interaction, like we are all kind of sheltering in place and people aren't actually interacting with one another. When that happens, you can't form a group that you agree with or think like or want to act like or participate with because everybody's kind of limited in their interaction. A collective also is unclear in its norms. It's not clear what the social rules are. Like today, where people are not quite sure what the social rules are, and it's not quite sure what you can and can't do. The government says, well, you can't do this, but then when people in the media say, well, are you going to arrest people? Are you going to fine people? The government says, well, no, we think that the peer pressure is going to create the kind of pressure that will cause people to do the right thing. And that's because the government's not quite sure what kind of authority it has to limit and lock up and stop the economic activity and the social life of the American people. It's not quite clear where our constitutional rights begin and where the government power ends. And so it's not clear what the norms are because nobody's been in a global pandemic before like this. And then finally, limited unity. There's a lot of division in collectives. People don't have the same opinion. They're just kind of running like a herd because they have a common sense of fear. And so one of the things you're going to read about as you read in this section is panic, mobs, riot. What happens with panic is that everybody has this sudden sense that there's danger. And so in the panic, they all just kind of run the opposite direction. They form a collective. They're not really united. They don't really know what the rules are. There's not like a long history where these people have all known each other. It's just a herd of people moving in a direction. And one of the challenges with panic and mobs is that people's liberty, people's lives, they can really be damaged by the large group movement. And what tends to happen with collectives is they're short-lived. They don't last a long time. Mobs don't tend to last a long time. Things kind of settle back down. There's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of rumor and a lot of bad information that gets spread back and forth in collectives and in collective behavior. There's not an established authority that people trust. There tends to be competing locuses of authority. So there's this group and they believe these voices and these set of facts, and there's this group and they believe these voices and this set of facts. It's a lot like media today. If you watch media, you have Fox News and then everybody else. You have talk radio and then the New York Times. If you look on social media, you'll see some people think that this is a total hyped, overblown pandemic thing, and other people think that it's really, really dangerous and we're all going to die. And they each cite their own facts. And so that divides the group, and yet there's still this kind of collective motion in a direction. So anyway, I thought it'd be helpful to take some time to give you some language to describe what you're seeing around you. It's kind of an unprecedented time period. And you get to section 2, you're going to see social movements. Social movements are not collectives, but rather they're more settled. Society forms into groups. These groups have established leaders. They have a common language. They have a source of authority. They have official facts and information that they all believe is credible. They have a similar value or political view or lifestyle or culture or background. And these groups come together and they try to cause society to move in a direction that they like. So there are reactionary movements. There's preservation movements. There are revisionary movements, revolutionary movements. And what tends to happen is a group gets a hold of power. They begin to change society through the law or through the institution they take over. They can take over a school system or higher education. A group could come in and take over, some other section of society. And pretty soon it becomes bureaucratized, and then it becomes institutionalized, which turns it into a fossil, basically. And then it dies. That movement dies. And then the next movement comes through. There have been many movements in American history. There's the Civil Rights Movement. And at first it was millions of people that were calling for change. They got control of government. Government made laws. They created institutions. Those institutions got old. They got dry. They got fossilized. And the Civil Rights Movement is a thing of the past for the most part. There's lots of movements like that. So that's what we're looking at next. We're looking at movements and we're looking at collective behavior. And there's some threats and there's some opportunities to each of those. And so I want you to take some time to read about it and write about it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for our class meeting at 12:30.